Digital Ethics and Digital Citizenship by Porsha Cameron, Christie, Bernita Lewis, and Tyler Stringer. What are digital ethics? How do teachers encourage digital ethics among their students? What is digital ethics? Digital ethics is the branch of ethics that focuses on the interpersonal behaviors and expectations for everyone who participates, learns, and works in the digital landscape. Digital ethics are the morals of users translated into posts that can be viewed by others in the digital realm. Children and students experience different home lives. Children who don't grow up in ethical homes or don't experience proper guidance and education in regards to communication, plagiarism, etiquette, or safekeeping of borrowed technology can cause harm to themselves or others with online activity. Students don't often consider their digital footprint and how it will affect them later. What does digital ethics look like? Protecting equipment from damage, using safe and appropriate sites for education, following the rules for copying and pasting. Copyright laws are important. Avoiding cyberbullying, citing the sources you used, give credit where it is due, creating thoughtful and ethical content.
This short video contains some information that is really important. Before you make any content and share it online, it is important that you understand your rights and your responsibilities, as well as the rights and responsibilities of others. If you are respectful and safe, then you won't have any issues and you will really enjoy the course. Generally speaking, the rules and regulations that apply to you accessing these modules and courses apply to everyone, everywhere. And so they are what we refer to as best practice. In other words, the right way to do things. Many of these skills you can develop further in your own time and could be skills that potential employers would be interested in. Remember that the works that you create can be something that you are really proud of, and many students include them in their e-portfolios, sometimes even in their CV for a job or college portfolio. First and foremost, please be safe. Do not post your full name and/or address in any of the media that you create. Only use your school email address to register for our course. Our service is GDPR compliant and your emails will be deleted when you have completed your course. If you want to keep any of the media you create to submit for your school e-portfolios, etc., please take a look at the file management video and remember to back up your work. In fact, back up your backups too if you can. Never share your password or login details with anyone else. You may need to download apps like BandLab and Zoom to participate in the course. Again, only use school emails. If you are using a shared device, remember to back up your work and then sign out of all apps and browsers at the end of the course or session. Whether you are using your own device or a school device, it is a condition of participating in this course that you must never share any images or material from any work created by you or your classmates on social media, WhatsApp, or elsewhere. Even if it is with your group's consent, it is not allowed. Your school acceptable usage policy applies when you are participating in this course. Whether you are accessing the course from home or in school, on your mobile phone or a school device, if there is no acceptable usage policy in your school, then your school rules and policies apply. If you are collaborating with others, then take time to review the group work and make sure that everybody who's contributed or whose voice or image is used, that they consent with work being used. This is especially important if you are filming in public. If you intend to use a film that includes other people, then you must obtain their consent. You can use a release form and ask them to sign it. This includes fellow students, teachers, family, etc. If you have any concerns at any stage with any of the issues we have raised here, or with anything else, please get in touch with your school teacher or with your Create School tutor. If you copy someone else's work, whether it's a lyric from a song or some lines from a movie, this is plagiarism and copyright infringement. This will result in a breach of your school's acceptable usage policy, and depending on how the work is shared, your work could be liable to prosecution from the owners of the original work. Plagiarism is frowned upon in all creative sectors and in tertiary education. Many colleges and universities insist that students sign a plagiarism cover sheet that contains a declaration with every assignment. Our modules are designed to have a limited amount of time online. There are Zoom calls and short video tutorials that will require you to be online, but for many of the activities we have included, you can complete a lot of them offline with pen and paper and then transfer the work to your workbook. If you are having any difficulties with any of the coursework or material, please get in touch and we will help you. Don't be anxious about any of the activities or coursework. Get in touch and we will find a solution that works for you. We are really looking forward to working with you over the next while. We are all professional creators and educators and we are passionate about what we do. Please get involved in the Zoom calls and we encourage you to ask questions and get involved. Thanks for watching. Let's create.
Two challenges in the world of digital ethics exhibited by students are cheating and ensuring internet safety protocols are in place. Cheating is a dishonest, unfair act of obtaining a higher grade by the utilization of prohibited notes, study guides, or other aids without the teacher's permission. There are some school platforms that allow teachers and professors to track keystrokes and activity to provide and monitor students' activities. The cheating issue of plagiarism is more prone among those students in higher education. In today's society, the use of cell phones is the heart of most cheating incidences and allows cheating to be easier. Thus, colleges have adopted the practice of having students use a plagiarism tool before submitting an assignment to ensure academic integrity. Internet safety is the most important component of the use of technology. The term netiquette has been invented to promote ethical and respectful use of the internet. With the way of the world, social media platforms have dominated the majority of students' time and they are exposed to the negative effects of social media. If not disciplined or mature enough, students may misuse the internet and negate their digital integrity, creating a challenge to digital ethics. It is pivotal that students of all ages are taught and trained on the importance of internet and technology use. Promoting the quality of learning is a plus for both the teacher and the student. This component serves as a tool to help strengthen academic achievement and ethical practices in students. Thus, creating a strong ethical foundation can aid students in increasing their use of moral compass. Characteristics of responsible digital ethics in the classroom includes promoting honesty, integrity. Students are prone to abiding by the rules both online and in the classroom. The prevention of harm, respect for themselves and other students and other people around them, and understanding the rights and responsibilities of using the internet safely.
Resolution to enforcing digital ethics within school systems. Teachers, administrators, and parents all want to keep children safe while using technology. Having all parties informed and armed with knowledge is the key to resolving a lack of digital ethics. Giving students the opportunity to report unethical issues occurring within the school anonymously, parent teacher workshops offered for free, learning of new dangerous apps to be aware of, periodic newsletters from the technology leader within the school, informing parents of important digital ethic issues that they should talk to their students about at home, sharing free resources, programs, or workshops with parents that they could access in their spare time to be more informed. In impact of the pandemic on the digital divide. What is the digital divide, and how did the pandemic affect it? What is the digital divide? The digital divide is defined as the gap between demographics and regions that have access to modern information and communication technology and those that don't or have restricted access. The digital divide affects the whole of society In regards to who can get access and who is trained to effectively use digital technologies in and outside of the school environment. The digital divide exists between socioeconomic groups, urban and rural areas, educated and uneducated, and developed and less developed countries. Studies and reports from 2019 suggest that approximately 5 million rural American households and 15.3 million urban or metro areas still don't have access to broadband internet. How did the pandemic affect the digital divide? In response to COVID 19, the worldwide shutdown forced the education system to move to the remote learning model rather than in person. The digital divide, already present in areas of the globe, became even more pronounced and exacerbated. Children of families of low income, children living in rural communities with unreliable internet access, children with parents who have little digital literacy skills, and families in underdeveloped countries were unprepared to face the challenges of online learning.
Most school buildings closed their doors at the end of March in order to keep children and families and teachers safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that when they did close their school buildings, they typically tried to provide some form of remote instruction, whether that was face-to-face learning or packets sent home with children. But we also know that the learning experiences that students did have were likely drastically different than what they would have experienced if they were in person. For example, based on our research, we know that about 12% of teachers indicated that they were able to cover all or nearly all the curriculum they would have covered if schools had remained open. Many teachers reported providing a lot of review and very little learning of new concepts. We also know that many teachers were unable to contact students or families. And of course, these issues were even bigger in schools with higher poverty and schools with students of color. Teachers in schools that serve more vulnerable populations typically reported being less likely to be able to contact all families. They reported being less likely to address all of the curriculum they would have covered, less likely to provide instruction in new concepts, and the list goes on. And so many students were at a disadvantage during the time that school buildings were closed and likely had inequitable opportunities to learn.
According to the FCC, 97% of Americans in urban areas have access to a high-speed fixed service. In rural areas, that number falls to 65%, and on tribal lands to 60%. The coronavirus pandemic provided the world with uncertainty. Unessential businesses and schools were forced to shut down, and both swiftly transitioned from traditional to virtual delivery. With this in mind, there are people who do not have access to a reliable high-speed internet for work or school. With the exception of healthcare and essential workers, when other establishments closed, information and communications technology, or ICT, became the new norm. This posed two possible challenges or scenarios for those students. Either they fit into the category of wealth inequality/geographical restrictions, or have an overall lack of knowledge. Economically disadvantaged families were greatly affected by the digital divide. According to a survey conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau's Household Pulse Survey, it was concluded that those belonging to a marginalized group, such as BIPOC, or the acronym for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color communities, had less reliable internet and electronic availability. Students who fit in this category were less likely to complete school assignments. Thus, this obstacle helped contribute to the educational gap than those students with sufficient internet and technological resources. On the other hand, geographical challenges, such as residing in rural areas, can make it difficult for adults and students to have access to fast broadband internet. The inability to learn/lack of knowledge is another challenge caused by inadequate internet access. This academic disadvantage pushes students further behind in their coursework. This challenge is a common fear of teachers. To add, if a student suffers from digital illiteracy, this can be a subfactor. Digital illiteracy is the inability to utilize technology sufficiently. Many struggle to adapt to this new environment and advanced technologies. Tasks such as checking emails, participating in Zoom meetings or Google Meet with their teachers on a regular basis, or simply utilizing an online search engine to search for information exemplifies a lack thereof in both cognitive and technical capabilities. This challenge forces students suffering from digital illiteracy to become stagnant in furthering their learning opportunities. Aside from the negative challenges of the digital divide led by the pandemic, there are some advantages. Two specific advantages and benefits include offering broadband internet access to rural and underprivileged communities, and it creates a more personalized learning environment. If students can be provided with reliable internet or resources, they can have the ability to assess their schoolwork and information just as those in privileged areas. Also, virtual learning provides students with a variety of delivery options, such as games, videos, and etc., to keep them more engaged and offer a more diversified learning platform online.
With much of daily life moved online, the coronavirus pandemic dramatically exposed the digital divide. The digital divide is a gap in internet and technology access that prohibits people from participating in vital parts of society. You probably only need to take a quick look at your own community or your own household to determine the extent of the problem. But to give you a sense of the scale, a study from Common Sense Media and the Boston Consulting Group looked at the extent of the digital divide among K-12 students in public schools. During the pandemic, it found 16 million students were living in the digital divide. The problem is most prevalent among Black, Latinx, and Native American students and rural communities.
When you've got a fourth grader sitting in front of a screen trying to engage in class, if it's going out or if it's dropping and it's not working, there's only so many times that fourth grader is going to log in again and try again. It's already really frustrating to an adult, but it can really stop that day's worth of education in its tracks.
The pandemic has changed awareness of the digital divide. The pandemic has helped folks to realize it's not just an availability issue and that mobile phones are insufficient. Those are probably two of the biggest misconceptions that we've been trying to fight. And the pandemic has brought that to folks' attention. When the pictures are circulating of kids doing their homework in a parking lot, outside Taco Bell or wherever, all of hearts break. So we're like, what? How can that be?
Short-term solutions have been like hotspots can be really helpful to be able to make sure that somebody who isn't connected is connected, especially if somebody is mobile and is experiencing homelessness. All of those types of more mobile solutions obviously will make more sense. But then you've got to layer on top the effectiveness of that particular technology. Can it work in a shelter? Do you have the right infrastructure footprint to give them the connectivity that's promised through that hotspot? So it really depends on the details of where that person is located and the sort of the footprint of connectivity in that geographic location. One of the things that's concerning, obviously, for vulnerable communities, when you're in the digital divide, it means that you don't have access to remote work. It's harder for you to access job postings and potential job listings. It's difficult to effectively engage in education or any kind of retraining.
Resolving the digital divide post-pandemic. There are several things that could be done to help close the digital divide. First, the government-funded program Lifeline that is currently in place is not of quality, and only 25% of those families that are eligible are still taking advantage of the program today. Revamping these programs to provide a higher quality internet connection would increase the number of households with access to reliable internet. Next, the government has not been able to agree and advance with the development of 5G towers nationwide due to budgets and funding. There is controversy surrounding 5G, but it would bring internet to underdeveloped areas and would also up to double the download and upload speed for those in rural areas currently with unreliable internet. Another resolution to closing the digital divide is to shift all of our focus to those lacking internet currently. Projects in big cities to increase speeds for those that already have internet could be halted, and those attentions focused on those low income and rural areas that do not have internet. Some specific families that should receive our focus would be those of Black or Hispanic descent, as they were of the highest percentages to report not having internet during the pandemic. All families with school-aged children should be of focus to make sure that children are able to do their homework. A great example of a school system in our country that has demonstrated closing their digital divide is Oakland, California. At the start of the pandemic in 2020, there were only 25% of students in Oakland's public school system that had reliable devices at home and a secure internet connection. By 2022, that number has increased to 98% of students having a device and reliable internet connection. The city has funded and provided 36,000 laptops and 115,000 hotspots to students that are in need. The superintendent was quoted saying that it took all hands on deck and the entire system's focus. Resolution to enforcing digital ethics within school systems. Teachers, administrators, and parents all want to keep children safe while using technology. Having all parties informed and armed with knowledge is the key to resolving a lack of digital ethics. Giving students the opportunity to report unethical issues occurring within the school anonymously, parent-teacher workshops offered for free, learning of new dangerous apps to be aware of, periodic newsletters from the technology leader within the school, informing parents of important digital ethic issues that they should talk to their students about at home, sharing free resources, programs, or workshops with parents that they could access in their spare time to be more informed.